right, let's go. It is game time. We had the number 2 Birmingham Stallions taking on the number 1 New Orleans Breakers. Sure was an exciting game, guys. Let's check it out and take a look and see what happened. All right, y'all. Like I said, we had an exciting game. It took place on Saturday. That was April the 30th. It took place at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. It was showcased like the other game on the Fox Network. It featured number 1 Birmingham Stallions versus my number 1 New Orleans Breakers, and turned out to be an exciting game, as were all the games so far on Saturday. The earlier game, as we already covered in our earlier video, you can go back and check that out. As a recap, we did a recap of the number 3 versus number 4 teams. Remember that on that video, between the Bandits and the Gamblers there. And the Bandits pulled out or stole, as Bandits do, a game late in the game there. And I'm glad I didn't gamble on the Gamblers during that, because we picked the Bandits to win on the money line at a -120. So, without further ado, let's take a little bit at the weather. It was nice for the earlier game. This game was played in the evening time, so the weather kind of went down a few degrees to 74. The winds actually stayed the same. Earlier they were 10 miles per hour. At this point, 7 p.m., they had lowered some down to 5 to 7 miles per hour. So all in all, it was a very nice evening there in Birmingham, Alabama, and the game turned out that way. Pretty good game. So let's just take a look at some of the key stats from the game and a few of the key players that took part in this game between the number 2 Stallions and the number 1 Breakers. Let's get right into it. All right, like I said, let's go ahead and jump into the stats. Before I do that, I mentioned some of the odds, but I failed to mention what I actually picked in that game. Of course, you can tell so far in my videos, I am from New Orleans. I am a New Orleans fan. You can tell by my speech and mannerisms. I'm through all New Orleans and Louisiana through and through. So naturally, I rooted for my Breakers, and I did believe they would win this game. So I took them in a parlay. They were -182 on the money line, and like I said in my earlier video, if you go back and check out the last video, the recap of the earlier game, I wasn't too sure about the spreads and the totals right now, because like I said, it's a new league, and we're dealing only with week 3. So I made a parlay, and like I spoke about in my other video, and I'll speak about a little bit at the end of this video. I do parlays in a certain kind of way, which I call a common sense parlay, and I went with my Breakers at a -182. I know it was pretty much juiced, and had I gone the opposite way at a +140 with the Stallions, I'd have did well, but I kind of went with my heart. So nonetheless, let me pull up some team comparisons right quick so you guys can take a look at what I'm talking about. And you should see on the screen right now, and I think I made it big enough. I think last video it was kind of small. This I kind of enlarged it. So comment below if you think this is readable and you guys are looking at it with no problems as I run through the matchup and recap this game. Like I said, the Stallions went against my Breakers. Unfortunately, as you can see here, Stallions prevailed in a very good game. It was 22-13, and I just tell you, man, I'm just a little bit heartbroken about that. I thought the Breakers were the better team, but the Stallions proved me wrong, and I'll take that. So I did take a loss on that side of my parlay at a -182 because I kind of went with my heart on this. And on other videos I put out, I kind of let you know, I think I got caught up in the excitement of doing my videos, and the Breakers are a new team, and they were number 1, and I rode with them. So kind of think that was more of my heart than my common sense. So I'll put videos out to talk about how that can happen to you from time to time, especially with teams that you like are showing a certain way. Time of possession, let's not dally on this too long. I want to make this a long video. It's just a quick recap. And as you can see, New Orleans did a better job in time of possessions, holding the ball 32 minutes and 15 seconds, which is not much longer than the 27-45 for the Stallions. The Stallions just made more of it. Both of them had basically even drives, 15-14. I would say even total plays. It was close, even though it favored my Breakers, 83 to the Stallions 70. But the Stallions once again made good use of those fewer plays, as they surmounted 313 total yards to the Breakers 316, and outgained them per play at a 4.5 clip to a 3.8 yard per play for the Breakers. So you can see kind of why the score started, going that way. Red zone touchdowns, Breakers did do a better job there, 2-1. However, as you can see, the Stallions had more attempts there, 4-3. Numbers wise in the passing game, I don't want to go too far there. Breakers did a job there. I mean, Slaughter was, doing his job, and man, it was a good game. 221 yards there in the passing area to the 190 of the Stallions. Completed on New Orleans Breakers side 26-47 compared to the 15-38 for Birmingham completion wise. So a little bit better quarterbacking there. Yards per attempt though, pretty close, with Birmingham getting the edge at 5.0 yards per pass to the 4.7 yards per pass attempt for my Breakers. So yeah, once again making good and making getting good out of fewer. Both of them had 2 passing touchdowns, as you can see there very clearly. Rushing game, oh man, those running backs for the Birmingham, I mean, they just want to run the ball, and so they got the edge there with 123 total yards on 31 attempts, and a little bit better than the Breakers there, who had 95 on 33 attempts. So you can see it right there in the yards per rush. 4 yards per rush to 2.9, and that's pretty much the game right there. I mean, they held their own in the passing, pretty much close. New Orleans, I thought, had a stronger passing game in the earlier weeks, but that Birmingham defense did its number in the game, and then the rushing game for the Stallions kind of gave the edge there as well. And then we get to the crust, just why the Breakers lost. Turnovers. It's clear. Look at it. 3-1. Man, if you lose a turnover game, you just can't win. And I'm sure that wasn't the intent. Evenly matched teams, could have been a different score. Breakers actually could have won, in my opinion, had it not been for costly turnovers. 3 of those, two lost fumbles, and they basically broke even on the interceptions, getting 1 apiece. So, as you can see, it's part of the reasons why my Breakers didn't win the game, ended up losing it, and obviously they will be a new number 1 team in the upcoming rankings. So look forward to that video coming out, as the week 4 rankings video will definitely feature a new number 1. But overall, man, other than turnovers, very, very good game. Making no excuses for a professional sports team. But the Breakers need to do better in that area, but still my team, and I'm still going to ride with them. Just maybe next time I use my common sense when I'm betting, as opposed to my heart on that one. So with that said, let's take a look at a few of the key players. We'll put that stat up. Just hang on a second, guys. Alrighty. Okay, guys. I got it up on the screen right now. It should be a little bit better. I made it bigger. This is my 3rd attempt. I'm still working with the whole screen exchange thing and trying to get it up while I'm recording stuff. Like I said, I'm learning everything from the ground up, so bear with me on this. But here are the stats for some key players for the Stallions. And let me just remember to move my cursor. The quarterback totals were 15-38 on the completion there. 15 of 38, excuse me. for a 39% completion rate for 197 yards. He was 5.2 there per pass play for 2 touchdowns and that 1 intercept. He has a current QBR for that game of 63.2%, so not too shabby right there, and even contributed 31 yards there in the rushing game, as you can see right there, on 8 rushing attempts. You had to get out that pocket a couple times. They weren't designed runs most of the time. It was that pressure from that front line of that New Orleans Breakers team that put the pressure to force that. But he got 59 yards out of it with a 31-yard run there that helped preserve the drive. Of course, running back wise, Marable had 36 yards on 16 attempts. And Brooks James there contributed 20 more yards on 5 attempts. And like I said, most of that, no touchdowns on the ground at all, as you can see here. So all in all, they ended up with a total of 31 rushing attempts for everybody for 123 yards and got 4 yards per carry. And the longest run of that game, it was by a quarterback. So it's pretty interesting on that, that Smith got that. So receiving wise, of course, Bolden stood out. 6 receptions, 70 yards on 13 targets. Got a long of 23 with that touchdown right there thrown in there. He averaged 11.7 yards per. And Angeline, I think it's Angeline, 4 receptions, 66 yards. And then the other contributor on the touchdown there for the other one was Mr. Williams there. He had 1 reception, guys, 47 yards, and that touchdown. But he had 6 targets overall. So not a productive day target-wise for him, but he was productive with that big play there for 47 yards. So some key players there for those guys on offense. If you don't know, I am a former defensive coach. I like the defensive side of the ball, and we need to take a little look at those guys, and we'll take a look at Wright, who led the team with 17 tackles there, 8 of those solo. Followed up by Tillman, 11 tackles, 9 solos, 2 sacks, and 3 tackle for losses. That's pretty productive there productive day there for him. Like that, and you can see overall their defense had a pretty good showing there. I mean, you're going against the New Orleans Breakers number 1 rated offense, so you had to come to play, and they did actually, because that helped preserve the win and get them that offense on and off the field. I mean, because Tillman there with 11 tackles, Tillery had 10, Mr. Gates had 10, Yarbury had 8, and Mr. Shaw down there, I think you guys can see him, had 8, and it was 7. I mean, many guys contributing. A couple of tackle for losses there. They put out then the sacks. I mean, they got to us. I mean, they put a little pressure on Slaughter and the Breakers offense there. So let's go ahead and switch over to the Breakers and take a look at those guys. If I can just get it up, and you guys pause for a second there. All right, it should be popping up on the screen right now, guys. The Breakers. We're going to start off looking at the passing game with Slaughter, 26 of 47, 55.3% completion rate for 240 yards. I mean, pretty productive. I mean, guy was putting the ball there, but it was the mistakes. As we see, he had a 5.1 yard reception average, passing per yard average, which got him two touchdowns. But that interception was very costly, and he ended up with a 74.8 QBR quarterback rating for the game. We'll move on down, take a look at the rushing game. Mr. Ellis there, 25 attempts. I mean, so they were feeding him the ball. They finished up 33 attempts total overall, and Slaughter had 1 of those, So, 90%, a good bulk of the rushing attempts went to Ellis there at 25, but he only got 90 yards out of it and 3.6 yards per rush. So, man, we've been hammering the ball, the Breakers, last 2 weeks, but this week, that Birmingham defense did a good job in containing that run. No rushing touchdowns at all for the entire game. And the longest rush by Ellis was for 17 yards. So, like I said, Birmingham's D really tightened us up there a little bit. The second leader rusher was Mr. Rose with 6 attempts for 16 yards. And just not a good day, as we went 33 rushing attempts on 95 total yards and the longest run for 17. And in the receiving area, which is our strength, they did their job. Mr. Dixon got 7 receptions on 10 targets, 86 yards, 12.3 average per, 2 touchdowns. Man was balling. 35-yard long one. I mean, come on. He was balling. Canella, 6 receptions on 10 targets, 64 yards, 10.7 yards per catch. No touchdowns, but he got a 19-yarder in there for his long. And we keep moving down. Mr. Poindexter, 4 on 9 targets, 34 yards. And Mr. Thomas got 1 pass, 1 target, 1 reception, but that was for 22 yards in the big play during the game. So reception-wise, they got it done. Slaughter was passing the ball around. that's 1, 2, 3. Solid 4 receivers with multiple catches and multiple targets. 10, 9, and 4 for Mr. Taylor. Those are nice targets. Getting the ball out there, but just didn't result in the win. Total for, not total, but defensive wise, the defense was doing its job. It took Mr. Fernandez had 12 tackles, 7 of those solo, 2 tackles for losses. Mr. Diggs had 8 tackles, 5 of those solo, and Mr. Alexander had 7 tackles, 4 of those solo. The defense was doing its job. Mr. Miller filled up. You can see it right there. Let me bring it up a little bit higher. 5, 4. So they did their job on defense. This came up a little bit short. Sack-wise, finished up with 1 on the day. That's just not the way the New Orleans Breakers have been winning games prior to that. They've been putting a lot more pressure on that. So Birmingham's offense did a great job with that, handling the pressure of the defense. And man, Mr. Bellamy, our superstar on the defense, just ended up with 1 tackle for the day. So wherever he was, the Stallions didn't go. So pretty smart game plan to kind of eliminate him from the game. So Mr. Slaughter, he lost 2 fumbles. Well, he had 2 fumbles and lost 1 of them. Helped cost the game right there. And we had all overall 4 fumbles all together with 1 loss. And just not a productive day there for the New Orleans Breakers, who unfortunately, and I gotta say it, I can't resist myself here, who unfortunately lost a heartbreaker. So we got to get over it heading into week 4. We see how that goes. So that's it for the stats right now. And, I think it was a pretty good game, pretty good weekend. We'll, look forward to the next video when we start looking at the Sunday's games. But for this video, we're going to go ahead on and call it quits and get ready for the next round of videos there for our Sunday games, which actually features 2 0-2 teams. That's the number 7-8 Panthers and number 8 Michigan Panthers and the number 7 Pittsburgh Maulers. And then also that late night Sunday game, which is going to feature the Philadelphia Stars, who are number 5 facing the number 6 New Jersey Generals. So should be interesting. Look forward to the recap of those games in the next videos. And also after that, look forward to week 4 rankings that will be coming out in a few days. And with that said, guys, let's go ahead and finish it up and take a look at how I picked this game and the odds. Alright guys, you should be able to see real quick what we picked. Just like last video, you can see right there in the middle, Birmingham, New Orleans, it was a plus 3.5 for the underdog Birmingham Stallions, a minus 3.5 for my favorite New Orleans Breakers. Both had a minus 110. The Birmingham winning at plus 140. And the Breakers were a minus 182, and that's gold because that's the choice that I took. I took that pick, and I didn't go for the total, which you can see was over or under 44.5. Both of those had a minus 110. Now, like I said, it's a new league. I could have went with the spread, had a good value there. Either way, and even the Stallions had a plus 140. But my belief in the number one team, and like I said, I went with my heart a little bit in this bet. I got caught up in maybe some of the hype and just what I'm doing with the videos. So I probably really wanted them to win. And I went with them, and I actually put them in a parlay. And if you look over to the right side, you can see my straight picks. I took the Bandits in the money line, which was minus 120. And I took the Stars in the money line. And you can look down there, and they're at minus 118. But I went ahead and put what I call a common sense bet together, which is a CSB two-leg parlay you see right there. And what I do a lot of times, when I have teams that I like, but at, how should I say, really juiced odds, as you can see, my Breakers were a minus 182. And I just don't bet straight bets on those type of odds. I just don't do that. I have a limit of about minus 130. Mostly minus 125 and pretty much in that range. And when it's over minus 130, and definitely as you see with Michigan down there at minus 143 and that minus 182 for my Breakers, I put that together with a parlay because I like both of those teams to win, but I'm just not going to make a single bet on them. So that's just part of my what I call common sense approach to sports betting, and we'll talk more about that in a different video. And why I make what I call common sense parlays. But that's a pretty good example of one right there. It gave me a plus 164 average. And it was a pretty good bet going into the game. So let's just see how it turned out right quick. As you guys can see, now just singling out the game between the Stallions and my Breakers. That minus 182 did not hit, as I lost this game, and I lost that pick. And if you notice, I lost the parlay. But when we get into bet size, basically the betting unit I used on this was a half a unit. And I'll let you know what that size was in a different video. But I went with a half a unit on it because, like I said, still a lot of unknowns. That's why I didn't go with the spread. But in this case, it seems to me that had I gone with the spread and taken the underdog here, the Stallions who won, that plus 3.5 would have covered. Of course, that money line plus 140 covered. And if you did go, however, with that total over, you did not get it, but the under did turn. So for those that went with the Stallions, congratulations. I bet with my heart. On this one, I did not use my common sense, and I did not get the win, nor did I get the parlay. So, like I said, we'll cover those aspects in a different video. So, for that, I did not get the win. So, at this particular time for this weekend, I am 1-1 so far for the Saturday games. Losing again, as I did last week. I bet against my Breakers last week and bet for them this week, and I lost both times. So once again, I think my feelings are getting involved here and not using my common sense. So with that said, this is Common Sense Bets. I am J.K. Wilson. Deuces.
Ice in my veins. veins, I've been driving this train. Years in this lane, there's no stopping this flame. Cause I came to the game and I changed it to play how I like, rearranged it to my own domain. Yeah, I got what it takes, made lots of mistakes, taking shots, skipping breaks, feeling lost, feeling great, popping off, singing straight, never stopped, never changed. All the squad here to